The truck's engine growled as it rolled into the preschool parking lot, and I squinted through my windshield, expecting to see Lisa's beat-up Corolla. Instead, a guy I didn't know climbed out of the driver's side, tall, scruffy, ball cap pulled low. Then the passenger door swung open, and there she was, my wife, Lisa, laughing as she hopped down, her ponytail bouncing like nothing was wrong. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. I'd driven 14 hours straight from a carpentry gig in Ohio, picturing Sophie's grin when I surprised her at pickup. This wasn't the reunion I'd imagined. I'd been gone a month, sure, but we'd FaceTimed every night. Lisa giggling about Sophie's finger painting, me promising a wooden dollhouse when I got back. We'd built a life together, 8 years of late-night talks, and scraping by. So who was this guy? I watched him sling Sophie's backpack over his shoulder like it was his job. Lisa didn't even glance my way as they headed toward the gate. My chest burned. I almost honked, almost stormed out, but something stopped me. Maybe it was the way he rested a hand on her elbow. Casual, familiar. Too familiar. I grabbed my phone, hands shaking, and snapped a blurry photo before they disappeared inside. The rational part of me said, "Calm down, Ryan. She'll explain." But the rest of me, the part that had spent a month sanding oak beams in silence, knew better. Back home, I'd carve little trinkets when stress hit, letting the rhythm of the chisel steady me. Now, no amount of woodworking could sand down the edge in my gut. I pulled out of the lot, tailing them at a distance, my surprise forgotten. Sophie's squeal echoed as they came back out, her tiny hand in Lisa's, but his shadow loomed too close. They piled into the truck, and I followed, heart hammering. Whatever this was, I'd figure it out. But as their taillights faded into traffic, one question clawed at me. Why didn't she tell me she wasn't alone? I kept my pickup a few cars back, watching that truck weave through town like it owned the streets. Lisa sat shotgun, chatting with the guy. Mark, she called him when they came out with Sophie. Just a friend, she'd said, her voice breezy as she buckled Sophie into the back seat. I'd stayed in my truck, hood up, pretending to check my phone while they loaded up. Friends don't touch like that, though. Not with that easy closeness I'd seen. We'd always been tight, Lisa and me. She'd tease me about sawdust in my hair. I'd mock her burnt casseroles. 8 years, 1 kid, a mortgage we could barely swing, nothing fancy but ours. Sure, I'd been away, hauling lumber for a contractor in Ohio, but she'd never hinted at anyone else. "Miss you, babe," she'd say on those grainy video calls, Sophie waving sticky hands at the screen. So why was Mark here now, playing family man? The truck pulled into our driveway, and I parked a block down, headlights off. Sophie bolted inside, Lisa trailing with a grocery bag, Mark lingering by the tailgate. He stretched, cracked his knuckles, then followed her in like he belonged there. My jaw clenched. I wanted to march up, demand answers, but my legs wouldn't move. What if I was wrong? What if this was some innocent favor? A ride, a coworker, something dumb. I scrolled through my phone, zooming in on that blurry photo. His face was half-shadowed, but the truck's license plate glared back. Out-of-state Ohio tags. Same as my job site. Coincidence? My mind spun. I'd spent years piecing wood together. Measure twice, cut once. That's how I worked. Precise. Patient. Now I needed facts, not guesses. But as I sat there, engine ticking cool, the front door opened again. Mark stepped out, Lisa behind him, her hand brushing his arm as she laughed. My stomach twisted. Innocent or not, that touch wasn't nothing. I started the truck, tires humming against the curb. Whatever game this was, I'd play it smarter than they thought. I drove to a gas station, fumes and fluorescent lights buzzing around me, try to piece it together. Lisa and I had met in our 20s. Her a barista, me a guy with a toolbox and a pickup. She'd like my quiet steadiness, said it balanced her chaos. We'd build a life. Sophie, a fixer-upper on Pine Street, dreams of a bigger workshop for my carpentry. I've been gone a month, yeah, but it wasn't my first long job. Last year, I'd done 6 weeks in Kentucky, and she'd mailed me goofy drawings from Sophie. This time, though, her calls had gotten shorter, vaguer. Tired, she'd say, eyes darting off screen. I chalked it up to parenting solo. Now I wasn't so sure. Mark's Ohio plates gnawed at me. I've been up there, sweating through 12-hour shifts while he what? Moved in? I pulled up our call log, scrolling back. 2 weeks ago, she hung up fast, claiming Sophie spilled juice. The next night, same deal, rushed, distracted. I'd laughed it off, sent her a photo of a half-finished cedar chest I was building. She'd texted a heart emoji. That was it. I leaned against the pump, replaying today. Sophie hadn't seemed fazed by Mark, skipping alongside him like he was normal. Kids don't hide confusion. They'd have asked, "Who's that?" if he was new. So he'd been around. How long? My phone buzzed. Lisa, texting. Where you at? Thought you'd be home by now. I stared at the screen. She didn't know I'd seen them. Good. I typed back, flat tire. Be there soon. A lie, but it bought me time. I needed to see her face when I walked in, gauge her reaction. Mark was still there, probably sprawled on my couch. My couch. I tossed the phone onto the seat, fingers itching for a chisel to steady me. Instead, I grabbed a coffee from the station, scalding and bitter. As I sipped, a memory hit. Her joking about a helpful neighbor last week. Was that Mark? The coffee burned my throat. I had to know who he really was. I rolled into our driveway. An hour later, dusk settling over the house. Mark's truck was gone, but the porch light glowed, mocking me with its normalcy. I grabbed my duffel, tools clanking inside, and rehearsed my story. Long drive, tire trouble, no big deal. Inside, Sophie barreled into me, all giggles and tangled hair. "Daddy!" she squealed, and for a second, the knot in my chest loosened. Lisa followed, apron dusted with flour, smiling like nothing was off. "You're a sight for sore eyes," she said, kissing my cheek. Her warmth felt real, but that hand on Mark's arm flashed in my mind. We ate spaghetti, Sophie chattering about preschool crafts. Lisa asked about Ohio, her tone light. I nodded, kept it vague, would prices or muscles. She didn't mention Mark. Neither did I. After Sophie's bath, I tucked her in, her wooden mobile spinning above, my handiwork from her baby days. Downstairs, Lisa scrolled her phone, oblivious as I slipped mine out. Time to dig. I typed Mark Ohio Carpenter into Google. Nothing solid. Then I hit LinkedIn. Bingo. Mark Delaney, freelance contractor, profile bare except for a blurry headshot. Same scruffy jaw from the pickup line. I clicked his connections. No Lisa, but a mutual contact popped up, a guy I'd worked with in Ohio. My pulse quickened. I switched to Instagram, searching local tags. There, a diner pic, 2 weeks old. Lisa and Mark, coffee mugs raised, her grin wide. Caption, catching up with an old friend. Old friend, my foot. I glanced at her, curled on the couch. She looked up, smiled. You okay? She asked. Tired, I muttered, forcing a nod. But my brain churned. That photo wasn't a one-off. Mark wasn't some random ride. I needed more proof, not hunches. As she hummed, washing dishes, I swiped back to the pic, zooming in. His arm was around her chair. Subtle, but there. My grip tightened. She'd lied to my face, and I'd eaten her spaghetti like a fool. Tomorrow, I'd tail her again. This wasn't over. Morning hit like a hammer. Sophie banging toys, Lisa brewing coffee, me pretending I'd slept. I kissed her goodbye as she left for work. Same routine as always. Love you, she said, and I echoed it, voice flat. The second her Corolla peeled out, I grabbed my keys. She lied about Mark, about everything, maybe. I wasn't waiting for answers to fall in my lap. I'd spent years measuring angles, cutting perfect joints. I could figure this out too. Her office was 10 miles away, a squat insurance building. I parked across the street, hood up, watching. She went in, normal as clockwork. But an hour later, she slipped out the side door, no briefcase, no call to me. She climbed into her car and drove. Not home, not to preschool, but east, toward the edge of town. My gut twisted. I followed, keeping distance, radio off. She stopped at a strip mall ATM, one I'd never seen her use. I pulled into a gas station nearby, binoculars from an old camping trip in hand. She punched in a code, quick and practiced, then stuffed a wad of cash in her purse. Hundreds, maybe more. We'd been pinching pennies for Sophie's dentist bill last month. Where'd this come from? My hand shook as I lowered the lenses. Then Mark's truck rolled up, same Ohio plates. She slid into the passenger seat, and they peeled out. I tailed them, mind racing. We shared a bank account, barely enough for groceries some weeks. Had she been skimming? Hiding it? They turned into a diner lot, the same one from the photo. I parked far off, watching her lean close to him, passing the cash. My throat tightened. This wasn't just flirting. This was planned. Calculated. But why? What was the money for? As they laughed inside, I sat there, engine idling, the weight of it sinking in. 8 years, and she'd built something behind my back. I needed to confront her, but not yet. Not without knowing the whole game. Mark glanced out the window, and I ducked, heart pounding. Whatever they were hiding, I'd tear it apart piece by piece. I drove home from the diner, knuckles white on the wheel, the image of Lisa handing Mark that cash burned into my skull. We'd always been a team. Her juggling insurance claims, me hauling lumber, both of us scraping by for Sophie. I'd unwind by carving little things. A birdhouse for the yard, a puzzle box she'd laughed at. It steadied me, gave me control when bills piled up. But now, control was slipping, and no chisel could carve me out of this mess. Sophie was at preschool, Lisa's still with Mark, so I tore through her house for clues. Bank statements, nothing odd, just our usual tight budget. Her laptop sat on the kitchen table, password unchanged since we met. Sophie 2019. I hesitated, then logged in. Emails were mundane, work, preschool updates, until I hit a deleted folder. One from MD 2 days ago. Meet me at 3. Bring it. My pulse spiked. Bring what? The cash? I scrolled further, but the trail stopped, smart enough to cover tracks, not smart enough to empty the trash. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. 8 years, and I'd never doubted her. We'd danced at our wedding, her barefoot on my boots, promising forever. Now she was sneaking around with some Ohio drifter. But why the money? An affair I could almost stomach. Messy, human. This felt colder. The front door clicked. I slammed the laptop shut as Lisa walked in, early from work, cheeks flushed. "Hey," she said, casual, dropping her purse, the purse with that cash. "You're quiet today." I forced a smile, stomach churning. "Long drive yesterday," I lied. She nodded, humming as she started dinner. I watched her chop onions, her hand steady, and wondered how deep this went. The cash, Mark, the lies, they weren't random. They were pieces of something bigger, and I'd fit them together. But as she slid a plate my way, her eyes soft, a new fear hit. What if Sophie was part of their plan too? I had to move fast. Dinner was quiet, Sophie babbling about glitter glue, Lisa asking about my trip like nothing was wrong. I chewed mechanically, tasting nothing, my mind on that ATM cash. After Sophie crashed out, I told Lisa I needed air and grabbed my keys. She barely looked up from her phone. Good. I drove to the strip mall, parking where I'd watched her earlier. The ATM glowed, indifferent, and I stood there, replaying it, her quick fingers the thick stack of bills. We'd fought about money before. 2 years ago, she'd wanted a vacation. I'd said no, funneling cash into a lathe for my woodworking instead. She'd sulked, but we'd moved on. Had she resented me since? Started stashing cash. I shook my head. Our account was clean. This was separate, secret. I needed proof. I checked the ATM. No receipts, no cameras I could see. Then I spotted a den of trash can nearby. Long shot, but I dug in. Coffee cups, gum wrappers, then a crumpled slip, time-stamped yesterday. Withdrawal, $2,000. No name, but the timing matched. My breath caught. $2,000 in a day, and I'd been eating ramen on the road to save up. I shoved it in my pocket, mind racing. But as I turned, headlights swept the lot. Mark's truck slowing down. I ducked behind a dumpster, heart hammering. He idled, scanning, then drove off. Had he seen me? I waited, crouched in the dark, piecing it together. Lisa pulls cash, meets Mark, and he's circling back like he's guarding something. This wasn't just a fling, it was a hustle. But for what? I'd build our life with my hands, every shelf, every paycheck, and she was tearing it apart with him. I straightened, resolve hardening. No confrontation yet. I'd tail her again, catch the mid-move. As I drove home, the slip burned in my pocket like a fuse. Whatever they were planning, I'd be ready. But when I walked in, Lisa was on the couch, eyes red. "We need to talk," she said, voice shaky. My stomach dropped. Was she about to confess or double down? Lisa's words hung there. We need to talk. And I braced myself, expecting her to spill everything. She didn't. Sophie's preschool called, she said, wiping her eyes. She hit another kid today. They're worried. I exhaled, tension easing a fraction. Not about Mark. Not yet. We sat, hashing out Sophie's tantrum. Some boy stole her crayons. She'd shoved him. Normal kid stuff. But Lisa's hands trembled, and I wondered if it was really Sophie she was crying over. I'd seen her stressed, layoffs, late rent, but this was different. She'd always been the strong one, holding us together when I doubted myself. Once, after a job fell through, she'd sold her grandma's ring to cover bills, laughing it off. Now she was unraveling, and I knew why. Mark, the cash, whatever they were cooking up. I played along, nodding about preschool plans, but my mind was on that $2,000 slip in my jacket. After she went to bed, I slipped outside, needing air to think. Our backyard was my refuge, with scraps stacked by the shed, half a rocking chair I'd started for Sophie. I ran my hand over the armrest, the grain smooth under my fingers. Focus. Mark's truck had been at the ATM. Why? Guarding the cash. Meeting someone? I pulled up my phone, Googling him again. A news blip from Ohio. Local contractor fined for fraud, 2022. Small time, but real. My jaw tightened. He wasn't just a fling. He was trouble. Then I heard it. Tires on gravel. I peeked through the fence. Mark's truck, parked 2 houses down, lights off. He sat there, watching our place. My blood ran cold. Lisa was upstairs, asleep, or pretending to be. Was she in on this? Signaling him? I ducked back, mind spinning. The cash, the truck, the lies. It was a web, and I was caught in it. But I wasn't helpless. I'd built things from nothing before. I could dismantle this too. As his engine rumbled to life and he pulled away, I made a choice. Tomorrow, I'd hire someone, get hard proof. This was bigger than I'd thought, and I wasn't losing everything to him. Next morning, I dropped Sophie at preschool, her little hand squeezing mine. Be good, I said, kissing her forehead. She nodded, oblivious to the storm brewing. Lisa was already gone. Early meeting, she'd claimed. I didn't buy it. I drove to a dive bar across town, one I'd hit after long jobs to decompress. Dave, an old high school buddy, was there, nursing a beer. He'd always been nosy, perfect for digging without knowing it. I slid into the booth, casual as I could manage. Long time, man, Dave said, grinning. Heard you were out of state. I nodded, sipping coffee, steering small talk toward home. Then he dropped it unprompted. Dude, why does your wife show up to pick up Sophie with another guy? I froze, mug halfway to my mouth. What? I rasped. He shrugged. Saw him last week. Thought you split or something. Oh, you're back together? Good, because her new boyfriend was getting on my nerves. The words hit like a sledgehammer. We never split up, I said, voice low. I was just on a month-long work trip. Dave's face shifted, confusion, then pity. Oh, sorry, man. I waved it off, forcing a laugh, but inside, everything clicked. Mark wasn't a secret fling slipping through cracks. He was known. People saw them, assumed I was out. 8 years, and Lisa had let them think it. My coffee went cold as I stared at the table, Dave rambling about his truck. I'd built our life literally plank by plank. The crib Sophie slept in, the table we ate at, all me. And she paraded this guy around like I didn't exist. But Dave's slip gave me something. Confirmation. This wasn't in my head. I thanked him, left cash, and stepped outside. Air sharp in my lungs. Lisa hadn't just lied. She'd rewritten us. For what? Money? A thrill? I didn't know yet, but I'd find out. As I climbed into my truck, Dave's pitying look lingered. Screw that. I wasn't the fool here. Not anymore. I had a name, a lead, and a fire I hadn't felt in years. I drove straight to a PI's office. Some guy named Torres, ex-cop, recommended by a coworker years back. His waiting room smelled like stale cigarettes, but his handshake was firm. What's the job? He asked, no nonsense. I laid it out. Lisa, Mark, the cash, the truck stalking her house. I slid him the ATM slip and $500, half my Ohio paycheck. Dig up everything on Mark Delaney, I said. And her, if she's tied to it. Torres nodded, jotting notes. 2 days, he promised. Back home, I kept busy, sanding a toy horse for Sophie in the shed. The rhythm usually calmed me, would giving way under my hands, turning chaos into shape. Not today. Dave's words echoed. Her new boyfriend. Lisa had played house with Mark while I was gone, and Sophie, my Sophie, had been part of it. I gripped the sandpaper too hard, tearing it. What was the endgame? Cash and a con man didn't scream romance. It screamed trouble. Torres called late that night. Voice clipped. Mark Delaney's a ghost with a past. Fined for fraud in Ohio. Fake invoices, small stuff. No address, bounces between jobs. Your wife's clean on paper, but he paused. She's been wiring money to an account I can't trace yet. Not yours. I swallowed hard. How much? 10 grand over 2 months. 10 grand. We'd fought over a $200 electric bill last fall. Keep digging, I told him, hanging up. Lisa was asleep when I crept in, her breathing soft. I stared at her, this woman I'd loved since she'd spilled coffee on me at 23. Now she was a stranger, funneling cash to a crook. But why? To run? To scam someone else? I needed more. Torres was a start, but I couldn't wait. I grabbed her purse from the counter, rifling through. Lipstick, receipts, then a folded note. Motel 6, room 12, Friday. Tomorrow. My hand shook. She was meeting him again, and I'd be there too. Whatever they were planning, I'd catch them cold. But as I slipped the note back, her phone lit up, a text from him. We're close. Close to what? Friday morning, I played the doting husband. Pancakes for Sophie, a kiss for Lisa as she left for work. She smiled, oblivious, her purse slung over her shoulder. I'd already ordered a cheap GPS tracker online, overnight to a P.O. box. It arrived by noon, a tiny black square. While Sophie napped, I slipped it into the lining of Lisa's purse, stitching it shut with a needle from my woodworking kit. Precision mattered. I'd learned that building furniture. Now it had helped me dismantle whatever she was hiding. I told Torres to stand by, but this was my move. Motel 6 was 20 minutes away, a rundown joint off the highway. I dropped Sophie at a friend's for a play date, then parked a block from the motel, waiting. At 3:05, Lisa's Corolla rolled in, followed by Mark's truck. They headed to room 12, her carrying a duffel and glancing around. My binoculars caught her handing him the bag. More cash? Something else? I snapped photos, hands steady despite the fire in my chest. 8 years ago, I carried Lisa over our threshold, her laughing as we tripped. Now she was sneaking into a motel with a con man. But as I zoomed in, a third car pulled up, a black sedan, tinted windows. A guy in a suit stepped out, joining them. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just Lisa and Mark anymore. It was a crew. The tracker pinged my phone, still in the room. Good. I'd wait them out. An hour later, they split, Mark in the suit driving off, Lisa heading home. I tailed her, mind racing. 10 grand wired, cash withdrawals, now this. What was in that duffel? Drugs? Documents? I pulled into our driveway behind her, forcing a grin as she waved. Early day, I asked. She nodded, breezy. Paperwork. Liar. I let her go inside, then check the tracker app, still active. Tonight, I'd confront her, but not without knowing everything. As I carved Sophie's toy horse later, the wood splitting cleanly under my blade, I realized I wasn't just saving my family. I was avenging it. That night, Lisa cooked chili, humming like everything was fine. I watched her, the tracker app open on my phone under the table. She'd left her purse in the hall, still pinging from there. Sophie chattered about her play date, oblivious, while I nodded, barely hearing. After dinner, Lisa said she was meeting a friend for coffee. Won't be late, she promised, grabbing her purse. I smiled, said drive safe. The second she left, I checked the app. Motel 6 again. I called Torres, voice low. She's back at the motel, room 12. 3 of them this time, Mark her some suit. Photos incoming. He grunted approval. I'll run the plates from that sedan. Sit tight. I couldn't. I drove, parking farther this time, and crept closer on foot, hood up. Through a crack in the curtains, I saw them. Lisa pacing, Mark counting cash, the suit on a laptop. Then I heard it, faint but clear. Once we moved Sophie, we're gone. My blood froze. Sophie? I stumbled back, breath ragged. They weren't just scamming. They were planning to take my daughter. I'd built her world, her bed, her toys, her safety, and Lisa was selling it out. But why? Money? A new life? I snapped more photos, hands shaking now, and retreated to my truck. Torres called. Sedan's registered to a Paul Grayson, ex-con, embezzlement rap. Mark's old cellmate. A crew of crooks, and Lisa was in deep. The tracker showed her leaving at midnight. I beat her home, sliding into bed, feigning sleep as she slipped in beside me. Her breathing steadied, but mine didn't. Sophie was a line. Cross that, and I'd burn everything down. I'd trusted Lisa with my life, carved out a future for us. Now she was trading it for cash and a getaway. But I wasn't some sap they could play. I'd use their own plan against them, let them think they'd won, then pull the rug out. As dawn broke, I stared at the ceiling, the toy horse on my nightstand mocking me. Tomorrow, I'd end this. But how far would they go? Morning came, and I kept it normal, dropped Sophie at preschool, waved to Lisa as she left. Inside, I was coiled tight. Torres emailed. Grayson had a history of laundering through fake businesses. The cash, the motel, Sophie, it clicked. They were staging a disappearance, using my daughter as leverage. I wasn't the soft-spoken guy who'd built their dining table anymore. That Ryan was gone. I called Torres. I need you to tail Grayson. I'll handle Mark and Lisa. He agreed, no questions. I grabbed my tools, not chisels but leverage, a crowbar, duct tape, a burner phone. In the shed, I rigged a lockbox I'd made years back, sturdy oak, hidden latch. If it came to it, I'd secure evidence there. The tracker showed Lisa at her office, but I knew better. Midday it pinged, Motel 6 again. I drove, parking outside, and watched. Mark's truck rolled in, then Grayson's sedan. Lisa arrived last, duffel in hand. They were moving fast. I texted Torres the update, then slipped closer, recording audio on my phone. Through the door, muffled voices, flights tomorrow. Sophie's pickups at 3. My heart stopped. They were grabbing her today. I backed off, dialing the preschool. No answer yet. Panic clawed at me, but I shoved it down. I'd spent years measuring twice, cutting once. Precision won here too. I called Torres. They're taking my kid. Get to Sophie's school now. He was already en route. Back home, I waited, every second agony. Lisa texted, running late, can you get Sophie? Perfect. They didn't know I'd heard. I replied on it. Torres called. I've got eyes on the school. No one's approached yet. Relief hit, but it was temporary. I drove to preschool, picked up Sophie, and took her to my sister's, safe, out of reach. Then I returned, setting the trap. I let them think they'd won, lure them here. The lockbox sat ready, my phone recording. As Lisa's car pulled in, I steadied myself. She'd walk in her own downfall. But when she stepped inside, her face pale, she whispered, Ryan, they've got a gun. Lisa's words, they've got a gun, hit me like a freight train. She stood there, trembling, eyes wide, no trace of the calm liar I'd tracked. Ooh, I snapped, grabbing her shoulders. Mark and Paul, she stammered. They're coming here. I didn't know it'd go this far. I shoved past disbelief. Questions later. Sophie was safe, but we weren't. I dragged her to the kitchen, mind racing. Explain. Now. She choked it out. Mark had pitched a quick score. Fake insurance claims, her access, his cons. Grayson upped the stakes, turned it into a full exit plan. The cash was their runway. Why Sophie? I growled. She sobbed. Leverage. They'd take her, force me to finish the transfers. 8 years, and she'd sold us out for a grifter's promise. But the gun changed everything. They weren't bluffing anymore. Headlights flashed outside. Mark's truck. I shoved Lisa behind me, grabbing the crowbar from the counter. Stay quiet, I hissed. The door creaked open, and Mark strode in, Grayson behind him, a pistol glinting. Where's the kid? Mark barked. I stepped forward, crowbar low. Gone. You're done. Grayson smirked, raising the gun. Hand over the account codes. Lisa, we walk, you live. She whimpered, but I cut in. She's got nothing. I've got photos, audio. Cops are 5 minutes out. A lie, but it landed. Grayson's smirk faltered. Mark lunged, swinging a fist. I ducked, slamming the crowbar into his knee. He howled, dropping. Grayson fired, wild, shattering a lamp. I tackled him, pinning his arm. The gun skidded across the floor. Lisa screamed, scrambling for it, but I yelled, "Don't!" Too late. She grabbed it, hands shaking, pointing at Grayson. "I'm sorry, Ryan," she sobbed. Sirens wailed. Torres must have called them. Grayson froze, Mark groaning on the floor. I stood, chest heaving, as cops burst in. They cuffed the pair, Lisa collapsing in tears. I handed over my phone, every photo, every clip. But as they hauled her away too, her eyes met mine, pleading. She'd betrayed me, endangered Sophie. Yet part of me still saw the girl I'd loved. That part died today. The house was silent after they left. Mark and Grayson in cuffs, Lisa in a squad car, her confessions spilling to the cops. I stood in the wreckage. Broken lamp, scuffed floor, the life I'd built splintered apart. Torres showed up, clapping my shoulder. "You did good, man. Kept your kids safe." I nodded numb. He'd tipped off the police when I'd texted about Sophie. Saved us all. I handed him the lockbox with the ATM slip, the note, everything. "For the case," I said. He took it. No words needed. Sophie was still at my sister's, giggling over cartoons when I picked her up. "Where's Mommy?" she asked, innocent. I knelt, brushing her hair back. "She's away for a bit, kiddo. Truth could wait. She'd lost enough today." Back home, I tucked her in, the wooden mobile I'd made spinning above her. 8 years with Lisa. Love, fights, dreams, and it ended with a gun and a con. I trusted her, built a family, and she'd torched it for a payout. Next day, Torres called. "Lisa's talking. Full cooperation. Mark and Grayson are cooked. Fraud, kidnapping, conspiracy, the works. She'd get a deal, maybe less time." I didn't care. The why didn't matter anymore. She'd chosen him over us. I walked to the shed, running my hands over the half-finished rocking chair. What made sense, cut it, shape it, trusted to hold. People didn't. I'd been steady, patient, a guy who fixed things. Now I was something else. Harder, sharper. Weeks later, Sophie and I moved. A small rental, new start. I kept carving little toys for her, letting the rhythm steady me again. Lisa's suitcase turned up in evidence, packed, with a one-way ticket for Sophie hidden inside. That was the real knife. She'd meant to vanish with my daughter, leave me broken. Instead, I'd flipped it, kept Sophie, left them to rot. As I watched her play, I exhaled. We'd be okay. Different, but okay. Thank you for tuning into this story. We appreciate every single one of you. We'd love to know what part of the world you're watching from right now. Let us know in the comments.